Hi, friends and family, and welcome to Crocheting with Michelle. I decided to carve out a little corner of the internet to talk about all my crocheting delights and all the yarny goodness that I'm bringing into my life. I decided to start documenting all of my crochet journey on YouTube after my husband Bryce suggested it. What brought this about was one night before bed, I often talk to him about what yarn projects that I have going on or what I was crocheting that day. And he told me later, I had not realized at the time, that I talked to him for an hour and a half about it. And then he fell asleep in the middle. And I was just oblivious. I was so loving the yarn. And so the next day, he's like, "Have you considered starting a YouTube channel?" I'm like, "No, I don't like video editing, but I do like talking about crocheting yarn." So, welcome, friends and family who are watching. Instead of contacting different ones of you separately and telling you the same things, I am going to start posting my crochet journeys here, or maybe other yarny goodness as well, so you can follow it. So I wanted to start out with my first video with something simple. I'm just going to tell you and show you what I'm working on right now. So I have two works in progress right now. The first one is called the Country Garden Blanket. And it was a crochet along, which means that like initially the project was released in small phases, like one phase a week. People would do it together. I discovered it after the fact. It's called the Country Garden Crochet Along, and it is from the designer who uses the handle Froggity Frog. So all those creative types. I'm not done yet, but I am going to back up and hold up for you what I have. So this is my, I'm going to start pulling up so you can see down to the bottom. This is my Country Garden blanket. It is crazy colors, obviously. I'll just throw it up like this so you can see it while we're talking about it. It's a sampler blanket, so it is meant to give you a chance to try lots of different stitches and lots of different colors. And that's what I wanted. And I just super, super loved the pattern. I will put the link to the pattern. It's a free pattern on the lady's blog. She's in the UK. I'll put a link to her pattern there so you can see it. So it started with this rectangular panel in the middle, these different sort of wave stitches that's supposed to be indicative of grass. When I chose the colors, I thought they were more like teals and mints, which is what I chose, because I was going off of a picture where the lighting was a little bit wonky. They were supposed to be more greens like grass, but there's these sort of watery waves instead. And then it just goes out in panels from there. You can see there is the rectangular panel, and then it has in the middle the big square rectangle, and then it has sort of wide but thin, wide and thin like this. These rectangular panels going around the sides, and it has these flowers, these roses in the corners, and then it goes around like a grass stripe, and like this is a dark brown. You can see that a little better, the color of this. This is called a seed stitch. It's meant to be like dirt around your garden. And then it has another section here with like some bright yellow sort of flourish motif. And then it has another section with rectangles and then sort of square corner pieces. So what I did is I was following the pattern pretty closely at the beginning. And then, again, I'm just going to drape it up here so you can see what I'm talking about it. And then I decided I wanted to change some of the colors so it'd be indicative of what I actually had in my garden or my yard. And so like these corner roses were initially red, but I thought I don't have red roses. I have white roses with pink tips. So I just changed that color to do that. And like these flowers here were originally different colors, but I have blue azaleas I have purple azaleas at my house, and then I have this blue star creeper. So I just changed the colors to sort of represent what flowers I have growing at my house, and I'm super loving that. There was a stitch, this section I entirely deviated from the pattern. It was orange and yellow to do like marigolds. Mom, I know you love marigolds. I don't really. I don't know why I don't love marigolds. I just don't really like them. It's fine that they exist. I just don't care about them, and so I don't have any in my yard ever, and I want to do something different. So I was like sort of looking around in my garden for inspiration. I was like, oh, I have a little succulent garden. So I used something called a star stitch in this pink, this sort of minty green, and a cream And all of those colors are represented in my succulent garden, right? They'll just be like pink on the tips often, but they often will, like hens and chicks, that sort of succulent, right, will have like little sunburst or starburst motif going on. So I really love this stitch pattern. So that was the first major deviation I did besides color. And then you can see this beautiful color work section here. I learned how to do some color work. So there's beautiful new techniques I've learned. There's this puff flower in this corner, which has nothing to do with my yard at all, but I was just going along for the ride and learning the technique. There was this pinwheel pattern. You can see here the sort of like odd bump when I was joining the circles together. I'm still a new crocheter. I only started in July last year in earnest, and so I'm not really sure how to fix that. But I love like this texture. If I do it sideways, can you see a little bit? Like it sort of comes up a little bit and ripples up that texture there. So that was a fun square. And then this square is called a crocodile stitch. I'm not really sure why. It's very, very three-dimensional, right? Like if it's already floppity, but like that's how it's supposed to be, sort of flat. And you can see like how much it comes up off. So that's kind of fun, having those different colors of blue. And then the last corner of those big corner ones is a pinwheel stitch here. And again, it has some raised portions, which are kind of fun. Again, it has nothing to do with my yard. And so I decided at that point that I'm going to deviate entirely from the pattern. The rest of the pattern has bigger rectangular panels again, and then sort of like squared or other rectangles, but in each of the corners has another panel. But those aren't anything garden-like. It's really good for a sampler. It will have the waffle stitch and other things I still would like to learn, but they have nothing to do with the garden. So I've been roaming around on Pinterest a lot and just looking for different stitches that might be great. And so I have decided my own pattern for the rest. And what I'm doing here on the outside is I'm doing a strawberry stitch. This one's in blue, but I can show you my red strawberry side because I love growing food in my garden. And so this is the strawberry side. You can see there's 2 rows here. And then on each side of this rectangle, I'm switching to a different color. So this is my blueberry side. This is my raspberry side. You can see my little stitch marker here. This is how far I've gotten. So 2 rows, and it goes down to just 1 row here because I'm still moving across. This is my pink raspberry side. And then last one, I have these purple berries. Can you see that light? It's supposed to be purple. You can see it's purple there. And I messed up on a few. You can see if you look closely, there's supposed to be little leaves at the top of the stitch, and I just forgot them on these 2. So we're all going to survive. But this is to represent huckleberries. I'm looking out at my yard right now. I have huckleberry bushes that I've planted, which have not produced fruit yet, but we have faith that they will. So I'm going to do 3 rows total of the berries. You can see here in the strawberries, there's 2 rows. I'm going to do a 3rd row there. And then we're going to keep working on it. So I've not actually worked on this week because I've been focusing on another project, but I am loving the crazy colors on this thing. I am just, like right now, like it's not as wide as my wingspan, right? Like my wingspan could go a lot further. But it's already thick enough and warm enough, like it keeps my lap warm. I'm probably going to add another 5 inches on each side. So it's going to be a throw blanket size. It's not going to be like big enough for a bed. But I am just loving all the learning that I'm doing here, all the different stitches that I get to experience, and then can decide, is this something that I would normally decorate with? Like, no, this thing's kind of crazy. Some of these colors, I'm like, not knowing how I'm feeling about these colors all being in the same project. Again, I have deviated from the original plan, although the original plan was pretty crazy too. But I am loving the idea of having sort of a souvenir of my garden. Not that we're planning on moving or anything, but I just think it's really fun to sort of immortalize it this way. And yeah, I have some plans for the outer rows and how that's going to go. I'm thinking I'm going to do some stuff with pine trees because we have pine trees right behind us. I'm going to do something. I'm going to have, like, there's these 4 different squares. After my berries, I'm going to do like some different side panels again. And then I'm going to do different corner squares. One of my squares is going to be a mountain because we live just outside of Seattle and we have Mount Rainier near us. And every day when I leave my neighborhood and drive down our hill, I see Mount Rainier and she's just beautiful. So we're going to sort of represent that in a corner. And I'm looking at doing some other things too with appliques, which I haven't had a lot of experience with. So that's my first work in progress to show you. And I only have one other one right now that is currently in progress. And this one is the Klotziana shawl. It's the title of the pattern. And I have here the name of the designer so I can share it with you. It is Kirsten Bishop. And I found this pattern for free on Ravelry. And here it is so far. Isn't this beautiful? Look at the intricacy of stitches. I would consider myself an intermediate crocheter. I only started in earnest back in July of 23, so roughly 6 months ago. But my mother had taught me, I'll probably do a different video sometime chronicling my journey into crochet, but my mother had taught me back when I was a young teen. And so I knew the concept of like tension and how to hold my yarn and hook. And so when I decided to get back into it, I went to YouTube for help because I'd forgotten all of my stitches, but I had a foundation at least to go off of. And I decided to do this shawl because I volunteer in our church's temple every other week. And we wear white. It's symbolic of purity and unity. And so we wear all white. And we wear like dresses or skirts and blouses because it's a place of worship. And sometimes I get cold. The men all wear suit coats. They have white suit coats. And as a result, like they're warmer than most of the women. And so some of them have white sweaters. Some of the little old ladies there have shawls. And I'm like, I could make one of those. And so basically, as soon as after my first day, I only started volunteering in the temple in that capacity back in November of 23. But after my first day and I saw a little old lady there with her shawl, I'm like, yes, this needs to happen. And so I immediately started looking at patterns and chose one and then ordered my yarn back before the new year. And when did I start this? Let me look and see here. Well, again, drape this here for visual effect while I'm looking up to see when I started. The Ravelry app is my new favorite thing. I just absolutely love it. Okay, I started it on January 13th. Oh, I'm filming this on January 18th. So I started it 5 days ago. Pretty good. It must have been like the day after I got the yarn. Like I feel like I started it really, really soon after I got the yarn. I was really excited to do this. No, maybe it was a couple days after because I think I was finishing up some mittens. But look at this, right? It's so beautiful. This point right here at the top of the V where you can see where you could fold it in half and it would be symmetrical. This will be the part that will be up behind my neck. So if we were to stop now, it would be like this. It would sit like a little kerchief. But of course, it will be much bigger. But so how it's worked is I crochet down this long part of the triangle and then back up the other side. And then I flip it over and then we'll come back down this side and back up this side. So this top part, I'm not crocheting along this top line at all, like the part that would go close to my head. I'm crocheting along the other two sides. And of course, this just gets wider as we go. It curves a little bit naturally, like I know it looks like that because I'm holding it that direction, but it still already curves naturally. But in the pictures in the pattern, it does the same thing. So I'm not really concerned. And again, it's going to be like around my neck anyway. But there's a repeating motif here. Maybe it doesn't look like it super much, but I've just started the repeats. It's like a 18 row repeat. So there's 18 rows before you start repeating. But you can see there's these like sort of more solid places here and this sort of like squared off mesh and then all these like loops and shells. And then that's when I came back to this sort of straight place right here and then the squared off mesh right here. And I'm now starting to repeat all these like little curvy shells. And so that's what's going to happen. I'll just keep repeating these rows until it's as big as I want or until I run out of yarn, whichever happens first. I bought 4 skeins of yarn and I bought it from Knit Picks. It is fingering weight, so category 1 weight. And this is 231 yards and 50 grams. So I bought 4 skeins. It's not quite as much as the pattern called for, but in the picture, the shawl is like massive in the sample that the designer did. I don't want mine quite that massive, so it's fine. This is 75% superwash merino wool and 25% nylon. I had wanted 100% merino. I could not find 100% superwash merino wool and fingering weight that was pure white. I found lots in creams, right? Because that's a more natural thing, but I wanted white for the temple. And this is the best I found. It was 75% merino wool, 25% nylon. Wanted to stay away from synthetic fibers and go to natural fibers. More about that in a different video probably. But I couldn't find it, and I decided to go with it and not be upset about it because it's the finger weight is often also called sock yarn, because people who knit socks a whole lot, that's the weight that they will most often use. And they always, not always, most often will have a mix of nylon or some sort of polyester, right? Some sort of synthetic fiber mixed in with their wool to give it added strength so it will wear longer, especially when it's on your tootsies, right? And you're going to be putting all that pressure on it. And so I thought, this is not going to be seeing heavy use, right? When it's just like around my shoulders or wrapped around my neck. Or then if I get warm, I can just like drape it, like old fashioned style would be like draped like this, right in behind your back. Like if I get too warm and I don't have time to go back and put it away with my things while I'm still volunteering, I can just drape it over my arms that way, and then I won't be too warm. And so I super love, rather than having like a cardigan to wear, which I thought about because I love cardigans, but I feel like having a shawl will be more versatile use when I'm going to be maybe zooming for 4 or 5 hours straight in my volunteer assignments, and I mean, I get like a break, but you never know. You never know when you're going to be warm or when you're going to be cool. And so I like the idea of being able to have it with me the whole time, being able to wear it various ways. The sweater, I have a white sweater that I wear in the temple most days, and it's a V-neck, really similar to this V-neck. And so like my neck is bare and I just get cold easily. And so I love the idea of being able to sort of like wrap the shawl around like a scarf too and be really cozy that way, and then being able to wear it down. So I bought 4 skeins of this, which is not as much as the pattern said, but I will just make it until I think it's going to be the right amount. And I am confident that will be great. So those are my 2 works in progress right now. Thank you for being here so that my poor husband can sleep at night. And I still talk to him some about crochet, never fear. He's actually a really, really good listener. He's wonderful that way. But I realized that I really do want to talk about crochet more than the people in my home want to hear about crochet. So I'll send this out to those of my friends and family that I think would be interested. And I love you all. Talk to you later.